What's going on, YouTube? I am back with another video today talking about the best exercises to help you gain distance and accuracy in golf that you might not be thinking about. Let's get into it. All right, so the first exercise is banded external rotation. Now this can be done with a band, it can be done with a cable machine, it can be done with a whole slew of different options, but I got a band here. So essentially, external rotation is rotating your shoulder backwards or out. Internal rotation is inward. Now, it's very important in your golf swing to have external rotation, which I'll talk about in a second, but the first exercise, banded external rotation, is going to work on that exact motion as well as strengthen your rotator cuff, which is a sensitive spot for a lot of people. So, band external rotation looks just like this. Now, one of the key things to keep in mind is you want to have your elbow as tucked as possible. Now, it may look like my elbow is not actually super tucked, but here's the thing. For us bigger guys and stronger guys, our lat will often get in the way. So here's one of the main ways that you can actually see if you are keeping good contact in this position. Let's grab a golf glove. Now you've all seen the exercise where you're actually swinging with a towel or golf glove in your armpit. Same principles apply here actually. So jam that golf glove into your armpit, grab your band or cable, and start going into your external rotation. As long as this glove stays connected to your body, you are in a good position and you're doing it correctly. If your elbow and arm start to separate too much from your lat, that glove's gonna fall off. So again, this would be the correct form. Even though my elbow is not super jammed into my side, you're in correct position. What happens often is if you get your elbow to actually touch and you're a little bit bigger like this and you're trying to keep in this position, well, my shoulder just went into internal rotation. So now I'm trying to do an external rotation from an internal rotation position. That's no good. So get that golf glove in there, do your reps, make sure it stays connected. And if it starts to creep and fall out, you know you've separated too much, you're losing contact, and you're not doing the exercise properly anymore. Now that exercise is great for your rotator cuffs, but your rotator cuffs can't take a lot of weight. They're typically pretty weak. So start with something a lot lighter, like I was using a very light band and doing a lot of reps. From there, you can go to something heavier, either add more weight on your cable machine, grab a heavier band, and then focus on specifically the eccentric portion of this. So you would help yourself out into that position and then slowly lower it back. So help it out, slowly lower it back. The eccentric portion of most exercises is actually where you're going to be building your strength. So going into something like this is really going to help bulletproof your rotator cuff and help strengthen your external rotation. Once you're feeling good about your external rotation, you can start implementing some different movements, still working on external rotation with bands or cables. So another kind of set is you can sit right here working on external rotation, just gently having your elbow touch, and you're trying not to jam your elbow more this way, but leaving it relatively straight at kind of a 90-degree angle with your shoulder, and then you're just lifting up. That's working on external rotation, as well as going to the side, and same thing, you want to keep it at about a 90-degree angle, and you just go up with it. These are all great exercises to help strengthen your external rotation with bands and cables. So I recommend 1 day per week you're focusing on strength, where you're gonna load up the weight, you're gonna hang between the 6 and 8 rep range, and 1 day per week you're gonna hang between the 15 and 20 rep range, which is focused a little bit more on prehabilitation, making sure you stay healthy, sends lots of blood and new nutrients into the muscle group, as well as help strengthen that range of motion to lead to a full range of motion to help your golf swing more. Now, before I go on to exercise number 2, I want to sit here and talk about your shoulder and how it works in your backswing and downswing. Now, your shoulder on the backswing is actually going to internally rotate. It rotates inward. This is the position that you end up being in with your shoulder in internal rotation. Again, external rotation is here, internal rotation is here. Now, some common mistakes when it comes to internal and external rotation in the golf swing happen on the backswing. A lot of times people with flat swings end up shooting right into external rotation. So if you are someone with a flat swing, you want to check and see, are you immediately throwing your shoulder into external rotation by throwing this club head inward? You should actually be in internal rotation in your backswing. The higher you get your hands and the higher your right elbow gets, the more internally rotated you are. So let's take a look at some of the best PGA players, as well as one of the fastest and furthest and best long drivers of all time, Kyle Berkshire. So Let's compare Kyle Berkshire to Rory McIlroy to Tiger Woods. You can see that out of these three, Kyle Berkshire has the highest hands and the most flared right elbow, which puts him in the most internal rotation. Tiger Woods is the shortest hitter of the group of three, and he has the lowest right arm and less internal rotation. So the more internal rotation you have, the more speed you can potentially generate. This is why Rory has more than Tiger, and this is why Kyle has more than Rory. Internal rotation on the backswing is not inherently a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. Again, the higher your hands get, the more internally rotated you get, the more speed that you can potentially generate in your downswing. But there's a big caveat. Once you get up into that position, anything after that, starting your downswing, needs to be aired more towards external rotation. If you stay in internal rotation, you're going to end up making a lot of potential mistakes and a lot of mistakes in your swing. So on your downswing, we're looking for getting from internal rotation of shoulder to external rotation of shoulder. This shallows the club and can deliver the club to the inside part of the golf ball, as well as allows your right arm to be a little bit more passive and the left arm to take over the speed. Your right arm is controlling the accuracy of how you hit the shots, not the speed in which you're swinging. But it can kill speed if your right arm stays in internal rotation, because your shaft's gonna come in incredibly steep, as well as likely swiping across the golf ball, and you're using more big muscles trying to muscle this thing. That works great if you're swinging a sledgehammer or something like that. You're going to end up driving it with your back arm, and you're gonna wanna be internally rotated because you wanna muscle it, and you're gonna wanna stay on top of it, using everything possible to drive that down. A golf club is not that. A golf club is very light. So you want to let that drop into the slot, being more passive, getting into the external rotation portion so that you can deliver the club nicely at the golf ball. Another mistake that some people can make on their downswing, what happens is they stay in internal rotation and they end up trying to shallow the club, because again, if you're staying in internal rotation, you're going to come in steep. But if they stay in internal rotation and they try to shallow their club out but stay in internal rotation, essentially you're just creating this break in your wrist. When you come downward, you end up going to jam your elbow into your side, and you're going to feel stuck on the inside part of the golf ball that you have no power here, because you're stuck in internal rotation trying to drive in, and then you're jammed at your body. If you have limited range of motion in your shoulders, typically we are all more dominant in internal rotation. We are all stronger internally rotating because we're bringing something closer to our body, versus external rotation bringing it further away. It's a tougher motion to externally rotate, which is why we're weaker in that position. That's why we need to train external rotation so much, because when you can properly externally rotate and you have a lot of power in this externally rotated position, you can really drive into the ball from here, versus having to go into internal rotation, which is your more powerful position, but it's not going to help you swing the golf club faster. So step one is to increase your range of motion in your external rotation, which is where those band exercises come in so handy. Now, step two is to strengthen and further strengthen this range of motion so that you can deliver more speed while in that position. So that brings me to my second exercise that can help you gain speed and distance in golf, as well as accuracy, that you're probably not thinking about, which is using a bench and a dumbbell to strengthen your external rotation. Now, you'll see me demoing this with my left arm, but we've been talking about the right arm for the entire time now. The thing is, you need to strengthen both arms equally. You don't want to just train one side. So while it's really important to get into external rotation with your right arm, and that's what we're talking about today, you got to actually do both arms. So here's how you do the exercise. You want to start with your foot up on the bench and you sitting on the bench, and rest your elbow on your knee. From here, leaving your elbow connected to your knee, you're just going to slowly drop down your arm into internal rotation. So you can see that my shoulder is very internally rotated. From here, we are raising that dumbbell back up to the position, and you'll feel, as you return into external rotation, the massive burn that you will have on the backside of your shoulder. This is strengthening your rotator cuff, this is strengthening your external rotation, this is strengthening even your lateral and rear deltoids. It is an amazing exercise for strengthening everything to do with the shoulder, as well as increasing your mobility. So same philosophy applies for this one. You want to bang out a lot of exercises to increase your range of motion, to get a lot of blood flow, but then past that, we can start going into even more of a strength component. So you can go heavier with a different dumbbell. And what I want you to do is focus on the internal rotation portion of this, but resisting it. Then you can help it back up. Focus on that eccentric portion of it and then lift it back up. This is heavy, it's hard to do. Focus on resisting that internal rotations, trying to keep it in external, and then lift it back up. You will feel a massive burn on this exercise, but it is amazing for increasing your range of motion, increasing your strength, bulletproofing your shoulders, but it's also going to help you be able to generate more speed when you're in external rotation and trying to drive into that golf ball versus being here and wanting to go into your strongest position, which is internal rotation. Then all of a sudden you're losing all speed with the golf ball. So now that we've increased your range of motion of your external rotation, we've also strengthened your rotator cuff and strengthened your ability to get into external rotation, it's time to start resisting internal rotation through this exercise. So what I want you to do is grab an inclined bench, set it up so that you are actually leaning forward on the bench. Typically, for the sake of stuff, you're going to basically be touching your face to the bench. I'm gonna have it slightly up today because I'm gonna be talking, and I don't think that you want me to kind of talk like this for the whole video, so it might be a little bit more clear if I have my head up. So first thing you're gonna do is row up, then you're going to externally rotate, and then you're going to press up, and then return back, internally rotate, and lower. Now, a lot of moving parts to this exercise. Essentially what's going on is when you raise up, you are activating your rear delts, then you are throwing it into external rotation and trying to resist this internal rotation. Once you're in external rotation, you're resisting internal rotation, you're pressing up. Now, the weight is pulling it down. So it's a lot different than when you're doing like a standing shoulder press, working your shoulders. The main reason you're doing this is to resist that internal rotation. So once you're pushed up, you're resisting this coming back down into internal rotation, because if I stood up, this is the position now you're in if you didn't resist it. So in your golf swing, if you're in external rotation, you're trying to resist internal rotation, but trying to apply strength in this motion right here. Likewise in this exercise, if you don't resist that internal rotation, you're going to be in this position, internally rotate in. If you're in an external rotation position in the golf swing and you don't resist the external rotation, you're going to throw it into an internal rotation on your swing, and now your shaft's super steep, you're swiping across the golf ball, and you're losing a lot of speed. So again, it's row up, externally rotate, press and resist, return back, and return it down. Now, I highly recommend you do that exercise slow and controlled. The reason for this is when you actually lock in those positions and hold them for a second, it's much harder to resist falling out of the proper range of motion. You lose all your momentum. You have a ton of momentum if you're going just fast through it, and from that, you're not actually fully resisting that internal rotation. The point of this exercise, yes, it is strengthening, but it's also strengthening through resisting internal rotation. That's one of the keys to success with this exercise. So when you implement all of these exercises into your training routine, now all of a sudden you're able to hang in a good internal rotation position in your backswing, as well as externally rotate on your downswing and deliver the club correctly to the ball more consistently every time, and put speed through that external rotation position. Again, the external rotation position is responsible for more accuracy, but if you are stronger in internal rotation, you're going to throw it into that position more often to try to swing hard / fast, and it actually results in you swinging slower than you would if you're externally rotated and putting speed in the correct spot in your swing. So you're going to take your swing from looking like this, where you are internally rotated on your backswing and then stay internally rotated on your downswing, to this where you're going to go from internal rotation to external rotation and be able to hit the inside part of the golf ball with lots of speed and efficiency. That is it for today. I hope this video helps you guys to start understanding that external rotation is going to be your best friend in the golf swing and also responsible for a lot of speed. So you need to start thinking of those exercises when you're in the gym, trying to think about how you can actually swing faster. It's not all about deadlifting, squatting, and benching to get stronger, to swing faster. There are a lot of little exercises that you can do and a lot of little muscle groups that you can strengthen to start swinging faster. Appreciate all the love and support, and until next time, guys, we'll see you later.